bot is going to have a logic, which can be a simple logic right now, right? You could have a fixed number of questions. Let's say for each phase, you want to ask 3 questions or 4 questions. You can just set it to some number for time being. Then from the available list of questions, choose the question. So this is where we will use LLM. Okay. All right. Because those questions uh, need to be logical, right? Now, then it is going to give this output here. So let's say instead of me saying intro, right? All right. So then it will come up with a list of questions. So does this answer your question?
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Okay. So yeah, once we have the list of questions, right, then we are going to ask it one by one. And we agreed that initially we will start with a simple process where we don't adaptively change the questions here. Rather, we will ask from the set questions one by one. Okay, so this is going to have a speech to text component. Okay, and then answer. Um, I'm sorry, this is going to be a text to speech component if we wanted to read it out. Otherwise, it can just display the text. Then getting the answer, that's going to have a speech to text component. Okay. All right. And then we do evaluation. Again, here, we are going to use LLM here. All right. The LLM is going to do the evaluation. So now at this point is when this LLM evaluation bot, let me call it that way, is going to need access to this database. All right. So now with this in mind, there are multiple ways in which this can be accomplished. And that's where we have, yeah, this coming into picture. Okay. The rating for answer, qualities of answer, rubric, experience level, and few other categories which we did not discuss. Those come into picture here. All right. So here, this evaluation can be done in multiple ways. Okay. Now, one of the ways is giving a rating for the answer. Okay. Now, the other way, let me put it in the Miro board so that it's easy. Yes, Atar, please go ahead.
Sorry, just a question. I tried to look up what.
Arthur, I'm not able to hear you.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry, I just wanted to ask. With one of the columns, it said that it will use rubric. I kind of read about it because I wasn't really familiar with it. But what would be the purpose of rubric for evaluation, the specifics?
Okay. So let's detail that. Okay, then it'll become clear. All right.
Okay.
So the first part is clear, right? We use the ratings. Okay, this is option 1. Let's call it option 1. Okay, so if we are going with option 1, what happens is okay, we use Q-shot learning capability of LLM. Okay, all right. So here we are going to pass a prompt. It will be based on prompt engineering. All right. Okay, so prompt will have examples, right? Which will have answer, then it will have pairs of answer and rating. Okay, it will have answer and rating pairs. It will have few examples of those, and then it will have candidate's answer, comma, question mark. Let's say I'm just giving a brief representation here. This is not the actual prompt, all right? The actual prompt will be much different. So it will have instruction, which will say, you are going to evaluate this particular answer. And we are going to give you examples showing which are the good answers, which are the bad answers, and so on. And those are the examples that are attached, right? So there will be multiple examples like this, okay? And then we would pass this to the LLM, and we would ask the LLM to give us two things, okay? Number one, give us the value for this question mark. That is what rating should be assigned to the current candidate's answer. That is the, let's say, quantitative rating, all right? Even though it's categorical, let's say it's a quantitative rating. Then we also ask it for a qualitative rating, okay? A qualitative feedback, I should say. Okay. All right. So is this option clear to everyone? Yeah, sure, Timer. The Miro board is already shared on Slack. I'll share the link again. Okay, so this is the first option. All right. If everybody is clear, then I just move this up. Okay. Then now, can team 1, 2, and 3, can you tell like what is your distribution of the data in terms of ratings? Do you have this available, or you don't have it, or do you have it for, let's say, 50%? Like, what's your current status on that? Um, Liz,
Yeah,
Ashia, yeah.
so we don't have the ratings yet. I guess it's something we could be doing this coming week. So I guess what you have is just all good answers. And so what you're now trying to figure out is just being able to categorize and get average and poor for each question. So I'd say the entire data set that we have currently is all good answers.
Okay. All right. So team 1, you currently have only good answers. All right. What about team 2?
We do have this column, and we have the data which we have provided to task 4 team already has been graded through all these 3 categories. But like most of the answers are good and average, and there are some poor answers as well, but we are still like collecting more poor answers.
Okay. So you
And
mentioned,
yeah,
please.
sorry. Yeah, just a tip that we are using the help of ChatGPT to like generate some poor answers, because obviously on the websites or other platforms, we are not getting any kind of bad answers.
I was
Okay.
just about to ask if it would be okay to use like a chatbot for generating those questions. Because I would imagine bad questions kind of easier to
Okay,
come up with for the bot.
what would need to happen is you could use Chat GPT to generate it, but then those have to be manually reviewed, and then those have to be approved by us, by the team. So somebody has to manually review the output from Chat GPT and say if those answers are relevant to the question, number one, and number two, are they really poor answers? Okay, so if we do that, then that's fine. Okay,
Pune, sorry to interrupt. So I'm John here.
yeah,
Um, Basically, what we collect from the internet is something that is not exact answer for all the questions. There are like sample answers. So you could not say they are the exact answers for the questions which we have collected. So how could we rate those answers
okay.
in the category of?
Can you give an example maybe? So when you say sample answers, can you give some examples to say how is it different from the actual answer a candidate would give?
No, if customer relative representative asked a question like, have you handled a customer uh, in some situation? So uh, it, the situation can be anything. So if those kind of question is asked by the chatbot, right? The answers which we have collected is just an example for some kind of situations. So, but
Okay,
but they may not be the exact answers for the questions.
okay, all right, that is fine. Now, if they're not uh, the exact answers, that is okay. But then are those answers giving an overall sense of how the answer should look like?
Yeah, they will give you they will give us the overall perspective of the answers, but they
Okay,
will
so
not give the.
do they give the actual answer? Or do they give like instructions like it should contain this, it should not
Yeah,
contain this?
that's how the answers will be. So
Okay. Is that how? Okay, you're talking from team one, right?
yes.
Okay. Is that the case with all the answers you collected, or is it a small
Yeah, no,
percentage?
all the answers are not, but
Okay.
some of the answers may not be the technical one. Technical answers can be answered exactly, but how about the questions based on the skills, the soft skills, and then
Okay.
other areas of the
Okay. Okay. All
interview
right.
process?
All right. So fine. So for that, see, there is the other option as well, which we can explore. Okay. Now, the second thing is,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Qualities expected, right? Or guidelines. So I think this is where your scenario fits in, right?
Yes.
Right, Sean? Yeah, yeah. So if we think the answers that are available in the data, they belong to this category, again, uh, these can be passed to the LLM with a different prompt saying the answer should follow these guidelines. Okay, let me put it
Yes.
here, right? So, so you get the guidelines from the data that you have collected, right? Then you put okay, all right. So
Yes.
a sample prompt is something like this, but the actual prompt will be much different, all right? So
Okay.
here we are just directly using the LLM's capability. We're not using few shot learning. We're just using prompt engineering. All right. So
Yes, I think this would be fine.
yeah, this can be tried for this. Okay, now how do you decide for which question you have this scenario and which question you have the second option, right? So um, that is something that can be also done by using another LLM. Okay, when I say another LLM, you will have something before these two things. Okay. Okay. So we utilize that. Okay. So we pass the output from the database, right? So here I said the evaluation bot is going to go to the database because there is a question that's asked, and it will take the question, go to the database, and fetch all the relevant answers related to that question. So it'll have a list of answers, and then it's going to come here, pass those answers as input, and then it is going to decide whether it has to go to option 1 or it has to go to option 2. Okay. Okay. And accordingly, then it will invoke the LLM with an appropriate prompt. Is this clear up until now?
Yes, Manoj.
All right.
I ask a question. Is that okay?
Sure, please.
So regarding the database and generally the questions, so is it just gonna take the answers and put them as is, or it will generate kind of new questions based on the like questions that exist in the database, if that makes sense?
Yeah, you're asking about the question generation bot, right?
Yeah, so it will generate
Yeah,
new questions. It won't just take a quote already existing question from the database.
yeah. We would give the examples. That is, let's say we chose core as the interview phase, and we give a list of questions, and we ask the LLM to generate 5 questions or 3 questions. So LLM is a generative agent, right? So we cannot be sure if it will generate the exact same question as we have given as input. It might, it's a probabilistic machine, right? So the words that come out, they may not match exactly what we have collected. So it can be worded differently. It's possible.
Okay.
Okay.
And
So that's where you would need to use over here to find out, right? This question is not going to be exactly present in the database. So we need to use a semantic search, or we need to use a vector store where we would do a semantic search.
mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
The other question was on this part that you're looking at right now. So how would it does the model decide? Does it go to option 2 or option 1, or this is something we need to decide?
Okay. Okay. So the prompt will be something like find out if there are uh, actual answers given or guidelines given. Okay. So the prompt will be something like, right, We will use some other term here, okay? There. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then we'll say give JSON output. Okay. So okay. So, I mean, this is just a sample prompt, all right? This is not going to be the exact prompt, but the idea or the approach is something like this. Okay.
Okay.
So it would give a single output. And based on that, if it is exact, we go to option 1. If it is a guideline, we go to option 2.
Okay.
All right. So then, yeah. So the rubric, right, that can be considered as option 2, okay? Because it's going to be the same approach, because the rubric is going to tell what is supposed to be, like how is the answer supposed to be evaluated. It will basically have those guidelines, okay? Yeah, is that okay, Arthur? Does that clarify your point?
Yeah.
Okay, so now, okay, from what we have seen from the teams, okay, we saw team 1 and team 2. Okay, can we get some idea from team 3 on how their data is going to be? Mostly we are using star method to evaluate answers. Yes, definitely. Yes, Asya. Those can be given as a general guideline. Okay. So in both of the options, that is option 1 or option 2, you can still provide the star guideline as a generic instruction here. Okay. So in both the prompts, you could say this is going to be the generic guideline, which is applicable to the answer. And then we have these examples, which will guide you to understand how the ratings are given in the first prompt. Whereas in the second one, I think they can be combined, saying these are the general guidelines and these are the question specific guidelines. So that way we can combine both the star method and we could add the data that you have collected, right? If there are ratings, we could use those. If they're not there, we could use the guidelines. And there was one more point. In case of situational questions, okay, in case of situational questions, I think again, we could use the guidelines. We could just ask the LLM to evaluate based on the guidelines. So these things can be tried out in the LLM to see how the output is, and then we can tweak the prompts or tweak the approaches based on which option gives a better performance. So is this clear to everybody? Now, okay, team 3, is somebody there from team 3? Can you tell us like what's your current data looking like? Does it contain the ratings or do you only have good answers? What's the status? Can you please update?
Currently running going through the answers, we found that there are really good and average.
Okay.
Don't find any bad answers.
Okay. All right. So you're looking like team 2. Okay. All right. That's fine. Okay. That is
I'm
okay.
from team 3.
Team.
Okay.
You're okay. You're Vijay, right?
I'm from team 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Got.
All right. So okay.
I don't find any few more answers.
Okay. You don't find any.
I've gone through around 200 question answers.
All right. So we have 3 different scenarios here. All right. Let's see. Let's see if option 1 still works. If you have good and average, I feel that that is sufficient, okay, for the LLM to extrapolate and find out what a poor answer will look like. So we could still work with that. Team 1, okay, you have only good answers. So maybe we have to use the star format and we have to rely on the LLM for the time being, okay, and use the guidelines based approach. So what I want to say to the team is right now, what you could say is, if you, I think you have assigned these categories, right? Or you're yet to assign these categories to each row. I think team 1 is clear. All of them are good. Team 2 and 3. What I mean is in the CSV files you have for each row, have you said if that row is good or average? Have you done that?
Last time
Yes, we have.
Okay, so team 2, right, Asia?
Yes, team 2.
Okay,
Yeah,
team
we
2.
do have a separate column and we have categorized them with all 3 options.
Is that complete for all the questions that you're going to send?
We have already sent. We have
Okay,
shared
great.
with task 14. Yeah.
All right. So you already have ratings. All right. That's good. Team 3.
Yes, but we are still working on like getting more answers which are poor. But whatever we had, we already shared with task 14.
Okay, that's great. What about team 3? Vijay, do you know
Can
if
hear me, right?
Yeah, now I can.
I didn't hear you what you told something.
All right. Have you assigned categories like good and average to every question that you have collected or every answer you have collected?
We haven't done that.
Okay.
We had a meeting with Annatefa. He told us to go through each question and answers.
Okay.
We are almost done with that.
Okay. Okay, so hopefully by maybe Monday, this will become.
Okay. One day will be.
Okay, all right. Fine.
Sorry, Ponaya.
Yeah.
Do we have domain experts? Because for this segregation, most of the questions are behavioral, right? So unless we are in domain specific, otherwise it will create some biased answers like good or bad. So how to overcome that? Or do you get my point? Yeah.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. So yeah, that bias is going to be there because the people who are reviewing it need not necessarily be the domain experts in the area of soft skills. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Right now, I don't have an answer or a solution to that because we have done the categorization to the best of the abilities, right? So yeah, that's an aspect that we can highlight, and that's something that we can get it reviewed for the next iteration, maybe. Okay, for now, let's go with it. It's okay, even if the bias persists, that's okay. But we know that that's a risk.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Punaya, we have very few minutes left, right? I just want to add something like earlier we done soft skill challenge, right? So where we try to know active listening, empathy, clear communication through the interview process or through the So why after completing the interview process, can we build another bot like for the next project where this soft skill part, the personality trait or the personal the different aspects of soft skills to finalize and rate behavior, psychology, mm, strong communication, right?
I
So
think
can
that is
we do
something.
that? Yes.
Yeah, that is something that would be in line with what I think for us, right? Yeah, what for us said just now. So we need the support of domain experts to rate it, or at least we need to know the guidelines. So we need
We
to,
already have some preset of guidelines and dimensions
that's at a very high
but few
level.
of them, for few of them, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. But I think that's something we can discuss later because I don't think that's something we can do in this challenge.
Yeah, not for this I was saying. We
Okay.
can just for the next iteration of the next coming
Yeah,
up challenge.
yeah, yeah. Okay, sure. So then the other thing is um, experience level. So this is something we discussed in the previous meeting. If it's possible, we can add this. Otherwise, let's ignore this. In the sense, let's keep it at the single value because not every team has data for the different experience levels. So that is fine. All right. Now, the remaining columns or categories, which I wanted to share with you, I feel given the constraints of time, not for the meeting, but for the project, I don't think we have the time to use the categories and make some decisions based on that. So what I would suggest is everybody from data collection team to actively participate in task 4 and start working with LLMs and start using the data to see how the LLMs respond to the different prompts using that data. And once we have an initial version up and running, then we could go and add the categories. Okay. So the only thing right now that you can focus on is finalizing the ratings, right? You don't have to go and get more answers now. So whatever data that you have already collected, please assign the ratings for those and finalize the data for time being. And everybody please move to task 4. So that's what I want to ask everybody. Okay, is that okay, or does anybody have concerns regarding this approach? Maybe the team leads can say Liz and Asia. What do you think? Is that okay?
I think that sounds good. I just had one question as you're finalizing on the data set. And I think I might have missed it in our meeting yesterday. Are we looking at also processing it in terms of removing any so the punctuations and all that?
I get your point. We discussed this, I think, just before you joined. So
Yeah.
Asia had that question. So what I said was, for now, let's use the capability of LLM. Even with some mistakes, the LLM should be able to manage that. So if we see that it gives a gives bad performance, right, then we'll go into the pre-processing after that.
Okay.
So for now, let's move to task 4 and let's see how things work out.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, for team 2 also, yes, it's a time I think we should move to task 4. We are pretty much satisfied with our data. So if only these like four categories or 4 columns are good enough to run the LLM.
And this fifth one.
Oh yeah, this fifth one too.
Yeah.
So yes, yeah, we can go ahead and we should work on LLMs now.
Yeah, definitely. And Vishnu is planning to have a meeting with everybody, like a workshop, like a 2-hour workshop. The exact logistics is not planned, where we could do a code along and see like how to build bots and see how the responses are. So hopefully he will have that set up sometime next week.
You can call it LLM agents, Punaya.
It's okay. We can call it a bot or agent. It's okay. It's just a
Agents is the new terminology, right? So we are using.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions before we close the call? Hmm. Arthur, Ahmed, Rishika, Faraz, Joanne, any questions? And John?
No, I don't have any.
Okay, all right.
No, Vinay.
No
Okay.
questions.
Right now, it's okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just I guess you'll share the schema that you made in Mira,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.